All right, so now we're going to focus in on geometric space. And while all the organic rules apply, objects are closer are bigger and located toward the bottom of the paper. Farther objects are smaller and located at the horizon line. The overlapping object is always closer. What's different is we get to use a ruler on here and we get to use a bit of math skills. All right, I know you're very excited. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly draw a horizon line because I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with this point perspective yet. And this is going to be 1 point perspective. All right, in 1 point perspective, all lines off your forms will converge at the vanishing point. So that dot that I just made in the middle, that's your VP. Not vice president, vanishing point. Now I'm going to draw a bunch of shapes around the outside of this. Actually, I'm going to do something a little different than I normally do. I'm going to take and make 2 lines of equal distance. And then they're going to be at least 1 inch or 2 away from the vanishing point. I'm going to use those as guidelines. So I have 1 giant rectangle there. I'm going to have 2 smaller squares here and here. And then across the bottom, I'm going to do a circle, a triangle, and another square. Now, for giggles, I am going to flip this paper, put my square up in the air. Why am I doing that? Just to show a point. All right. We connect up every corner of that square to this vanishing point. And when you're working with the vanishing point, one edge is always connected to the vanishing point. And every time you move your ruler, it wants to fall off, so you have to go back and recheck it. Now I've got this corner, and this corner going to that vanishing point. Question you probably have is, why didn't I do this corner? Well, if I did, then I could see through my form I'm creating. And if I can see through my form, I'm not particularly creating great form. I'm creating something that's transparent, and it's not going to look like it has true thickness. So any line that goes through your front plane, we call this the front plane, you don't bother to do. We do not connect up anything going through the front plane. All right? And I can go through the rest of my shapes and do the same thing. All right? Now these 2 edges of my triangle, even though they're way in the back, when I draw those lines from those corners, they do not go through the front plane. So I'm all good. All right. With my circle, I have to connect up the far edges because I don't have any corners. So I'm only going to have 2 lines here. I've got 3 here. I got 3 here. Now here's where comes the tricky part. I have to recreate this shape further toward the vanishing point. And I can do it as easily as lining up my pencil and sliding it over. Boom. 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 And boom. All right. And once you've connected that, you've created your parallel lines. What are parallel lines? They're 2 lines like train tracks, right? They go in the same direction forever. They never cross. So that's what a parallel line is, and that's what you create off your shape. Whatever this line is, you have to make it over there. All right? If I do this with my lines, are they parallel? No. Because if I did that with train tracks, what I'm trying to do here is create parallel lines. So whatever this line does here, this far line over here has to do the same thing. like a train track, right? If I did this, would they be parallel? No, because if I did that to a train track, you would have screaming death and lawyers. All right. Consequently, if I did this with this line, same thing, right? Gonna flip a train, people will die. You don't want that. You want these lines going in the same direction. Once you have that form sectioned off, you can erase your guidelines or your corner lines back, and it becomes this form floating in the air. All right. How do I parallel a curve? Well, if one train track curves, the other train track has to curve. And that's how we parallel that curve. All right. Now you're going to find something interesting where you're directly under. You're going to find something interesting when you're directly on the side of a vanishing point or you're directly above or under it. Instead of connecting up 3 corners, you are just going to end up connecting up 2. So while you didn't connect up all 3, you can't, because this line would go through the form. And your parallel to a vertical is another vertical. Booyah. Alright? If you ever want to check it, pencil, slide it over. Pencil, slide it down. Pencil, slide it over. Pencil, slide it over. Pencil, boom. Can't do a pencil on the circle, but you should be able to figure that out. Alright, I'm going to flip this back because what I want to do, Vaulato. So I got 7, which means I have to put a block in the middle here, and then I have to split these into separate spaces. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to do my name, right? And part of the reason I'm doing my name is because I want you guys to learn how to do your superhero logo, and this would be the best way to do it. Block letters or fancy letters, whatever your case may be. I'm going to start simple. So now you got a couple options here. At this point, once you've written out your name, and you can get way fancier with your letters than this. You don't have to do just block letters. You could be like, you know, goth letters. You could be like, look at this. It looks like it streams from the bowels of the netherworld. I'm going to connect up this one. There's my new V. Alright, you could totally do that. It's going to take a little longer. Probably look a lot cooler. You have to make a choice. But what I'm going to do at this point, just to make my life easier, I'm going to erase everything that's not letter. That ain't a letter. This ain't letter. That ain't letter. That ain't got no letter. That letter. It's all gone. Booyah. Alright. Boo. Now some of these letters touch, which means they're going to share corners. Alright. But some of these letters have space. Some of these letters, when you go to draw a line, are going to run into another letter. When you run into another plane, you stop. Alright? Now the hardest part about this is keeping your ruler on your vanishing point. So I'm going to create one line here to the vanishing point. Bing, bing. I'm going to go up to the top. See how much my ruler moved? So I got to go back, straighten that up. And as soon as I hit that A, that V stops. Making my life easier. This one can go all the way, so I take it all the way. Boom. Now I'm pressing really hard because I'm unsure how well you can see what I'm doing, so I'm having to darken it. You probably want to use less pressure whenever possible. See that one? It ran into itself. Even if it runs into itself, you just stop right there. Stop right there. You will also find you have to do the inner corners if you could actually see the inner corner. So because I can see the inner corner of that A, or this one here, I have to finish those. What about the upper part of the A? Well, let's see. How far can it go? it can go till it hits the U. All right. And you just slowly work your way all the way across your letters. Some of them are not going to connect up because they threaten to run into the letter itself, like my L and my U. The bottoms will connect. Where these two letters touch will connect. And you really want to have a vanishing point. You don't want to have a vanishing milk dud or an M&M, because that actually means you have sides. The left side of the M&M or milk dud, the right side of the M&M or milk dud. All right. Ooh, this one's going to go all the way back. That's cool. Now you see I'm in a little freewheeling with what side of the ruler I use. As long as I keep it consistent, or I keep my wits about me, I can use the bottom of the ruler, like so. Or I can slide the whole sucker down and use the top of the ruler. As long as you're on the same side that's lined up with the dot and your ruler doesn't move like mine just did, you should be in pretty good shape. Now for a lot of people, this many lines starts to get confusing. So you got some options here. We got to add parallel lines. The base of all these letters so far is flat. It's a horizontal line. So I'm going to take advantage of my laziness as a human being. And if this is flat, I draw it flat. If this is flat, I draw a flat. If this is flat, I draw a flat. That flat, draw flat. That flat, draw flat. Flat, flat, flat. Oh yeah. What does that do for me? Well, first of all, it gives my letters consistent thickness, which is cool. But it also tells me where I got to go up. So, where this ends, I go up on my A. Bam. Where this one ends, I go up on my V. Bam. And once I do that, I can erase the guidelines, thus making it less confusing for myself. If you want to do that all the way, do one letter and completely finish it at a time, you can do that. I'm going to have to curve that one out a little bit. This one, boom. See, now what's interesting is not only does this one come up, but it also goes over. And my T comes up, and then that's it. That's all I got to do for my T. My T pretty much stops at that point. All right? I'm going to grab the edges of my O.
Hello, please leave a message after the call.
And I'm going to curve that letter. All right? And I can erase all my guidelines from here. So now I've got my letter, I got my shapes. If I want to get crazy with these shapes and turn them into things, I could turn them into things. It's really up to you and what you decide to do. As long as you have flat planes and you bring your lines back to your vanishing point. After that, all you got to do is add a parallel. All right, we're going to stop at that one. I'm going to give you a slightly different one in a few minutes. Check the Vaulato YouTube channel for ongoing lessons and the continuation of this point perspective to show actual space.